Gregor Mendel was born July 20th, 1822, to a German family in Austria. As a boy, he worked on the family farm as a gardener, along with studying beekeeping. He attended the Philosophical Institute in Olomouc in 1840 to 1843. His physics teacher, Friedrich Franz, recommended he enter an Augustinian abbey of St. Thomas in Brunau in 1843. He was sent to the University of Vienna in 1851 and returned in 1853 to St. Thomas to teach physics. Mendel began studying plant variation within the monastery garden in 1856 and did so until 1863. It was here that he tested around 29,000 pea plants. Through experiment, he made several discoveries which earned him the title of the Father of Genetics. Mendel picked common garden pea plants for the focus of his research because they can be grown easily in large numbers and their reproduction can be manipulated. Pea plants have both male and female reproductive organs. As a result, they can either self-pollinate themselves or cross-pollinate with another plant. In his experiments, Mendel was able to selectively cross-pollinate purebred plants with particular traits and observe the outcome over many generations. This was the basis for his conclusions about the nature of genetic inheritance. Through the selective crossbreeding of common pea plants over many generations, Mendel discovered that certain traits show up in offspring without any blending of parent characteristics. Mendel observed 7 traits that are easily recognized and apparently only occur in one of 2 forms. Flower color is purple or white, flower position is axial or terminal, stem length is long or short, seed shape is round or wrinkled, seed color is yellow or green, pod shape is inflated or constricted, and pod color is either yellow or green. In cross-pollinating plants that either produce yellow or green pea seeds exclusively, Mendel found that the first offspring generation, F1, always has yellow seeds. However, he allowed the F1 generation to self-pollinate, and their offspring, the F2 generation, showed a 3-to-1 ratio for yellow to green seeds. This 3-to-1 ratio occurs in later generations as well. Mendel realized that this was the key to understanding the basic mechanisms of inheritance. It is important to realize that, in this experiment, the starting parent plants were homozygous for pea seed color. That is to say, they each had 2 identical alleles of the gene for this trait, one having 2 yellows and the other having 2 greens. The plants in the F1 generation were all heterozygous. In other words, they each had inherited 2 different alleles, one from each parent plant. It becomes clear when we look at the actual genetic makeup or genotype of the pea plants instead of only the phenotype. With all of the 7 pea plant traits that Mendel examined, one form appeared dominant over the other, which means it masked the presence of the other allele. For example, when the genotype for pea seed color is heterozygous, YG for yellow and green, the phenotype is yellow. However, the dominant yellow allele does not alter the recessive green allele in any way. Both alleles can be passed on to the next generation unchanged. The first law that Mendel proposed was the law of segregation. According to the law of segregation, for any particular trait, the pair of alleles of each parent separate and only one allele passes from each parent to an offspring. Which allele the parent passes on is a matter of chance. We now know that this segregation of alleles occurs during the process of sex cell formation, also known as meiosis. The second law that Mendel proposed was the law of independent assortment. According to the law of independent assortment, the likelihood of the alleles of one gene being passed along is not affected by the likelihood or the being passed along of alleles or genes for another trait. For example, a pea plant's inheritance of the ability to produce purple flowers instead of white ones does not make it more likely that it will also inherit the ability to produce yellow pea seeds in contrast to green ones. This has been a brief overview of Gregor Mendel and his laws for inheritance. Thank you for listening.